Hi guys. Okay, here is a review of phrases and clauses, and hopefully you did the worksheet first to see how you did on your own, and then you can use this to check yourself. And of course, feel free to come and ask me any questions you have before the test on Monday. But I think this is a pretty good thorough review for you guys. So in the first section, it's just reviewing the four types of phrases here. Appositive phrases, which are phrases that rename the noun next to it. Prepositional phrases, which begin with prepositions and end in a noun or the object of the preposition. Participle phrases that begin with an ing or ed verb, and they don't replace the noun they're next to, but they give more information about it. And then, of course, verb phrases, which is when you have one or more helping verbs with an action verb next to it. So if you look at the first one, the Green Bay Packers are playing the Giants, a football team, in a close game. You have an appositive. Why? Because a football team is a noun renaming the Giants. The Giants are the team, and the team is the Giants. They're the same thing. They rename each other. In a close game is a prepositional phrase because it begins with the preposition in and ends in the object of the preposition game. Have beaten is a verb phrase because the helping verb have and the action verb beaten. In a riveting 35-7 game is a prepositional phrase because it begins with the preposition in and ends with the object of the preposition game. And feel free to pause this video at any time if you need to write down things or think about things or go back over things. Winning easily is a participle phrase because participle phrases begin with an ing or ed verb, but they're not the main verb in the sentence. The main verb is beat. The Steelers beat. But winning easily is this phrase that's all it does is further describe what the Steelers are doing. Called Pearl Harbor Day is also a participle phrase because it begins with an ed verb. It's not the main verb in the sentence, though. The main verb is the linking verb is. It is simply there, called Pearl Harbor Day, to give more information about what Wednesday is. Of the attack is a prepositional phrase because it begins with the preposition of and ends in the noun object of the preposition attack. Pearl Harbor Day is a positive because this is just a noun and its purpose is to rename Wednesday. Wednesday is Pearl Harbor Day. Pearl Harbor Day is Wednesday. Now that is different than this one up above. The word called is what makes this one a participle phrase because it starts with that ed verb, whereas down here it doesn't. And then number 9, in a solemn manner, is a prepositional phrase. In this next section, you need to determine whether the bold clause is an independent clause, which means it's a sentence or a group of words that makes a complete thought, makes a complete sentence. It doesn't start with a subordinating conjunction. Or is it a dependent clause, a group of words that doesn't make a complete thought? When you say it, it doesn't sound like a complete sentence, and it does start with a subordinating conjunction. Either way, both of these have subjects and verbs in them, no matter what. So if you take a look at number 10, Cape Hatteras is still a dangerous place. That's an independent clause. It's a complete thought. It doesn't start with a subordinating conjunction. It still has a subject, still has a verb. In number 11, before John left for France, that is a let's do that one in blue. Dependent clause. It's dependent because that's not a complete thought. Before John left for France, it's not completed. It needs more. It starts with the subordinating conjunction before, but it still has a subject and still has a verb. The next one, he named the cuddly, looks like I was crossing it out. He named the cuddly toy after, sorry, I'm struggling here. Okay, it really hates me right now, guys. Hold on. He named the cuddly toy after Theodore Roosevelt is an independent clause because it's a complete thought. He named the cuddly toy after Theodore Roosevelt. That's a complete sentence. doesn't start with a subordinating conjunction, but does have a subject and a verb. The next one is a dependent clause. Why? Because it's an incomplete thought. As soon as I came into the school, it needs more to be complete. It begins with the subordinating conjunction as soon as, but it still has a subject and a verb. The next one is also a dependent clause. Because like superior is equivalent to main in size, it needs more. It begins with the subordinating conjunction because. It has a subject. It has a linking verb. One more dependent clause. If a student studied a different type of beetle daily, it's incomplete. Begins with a subordinating conjunction if, has a subject and verb. The bus took me all the way to Mississippi. This whole thing is one independent clause. It's a complete thought, no subordinating conjunction, has a subject and a verb. 17 is an independent clause as well. And now just a little practice trying to determine the difference between a phrase and a clause. Keeping in mind that if it's an independent clause or a dependent clause, these are going to have subjects and verbs in them. If it's a prepositional phrase, it won't have any subject or any verb in it. And that is the key to finding out whether it's a phrase, a prepositional phrase or a clause. So if we take a look at number 18, although modern technical equipment has minimized the dangers, it's a dependent clause. Why? Because it's an incomplete thought. Okay, so what else? How do I know it's not a prepositional phrase? Well, first of all, there are no prepositions. And secondly, it starts with a subordinating conjunction, and it has a subject, and it has a verb. In the next one, the coastal shoals of Cape Hatteras can still trap unwary mariners. That's an independent clause. How do I know? It's a complete thought. It has a subject and it has a verb. Now, yes, it does have a prepositional phrase in it, but the whole thing is not a prepositional phrase. The whole thing is an independent clause. It's a complete thought. The next one, of Cape Hatteras, is simply a prepositional phrase. Starts with a preposition, ends in a noun, no subject, no verb. Same with this one. 21 is a prepositional phrase. Of snow, of water, under normal conditions. Preposition, 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 object to the preposition, object to the preposition, object to the preposition. 10 inches of snow would yield about 1 inch of water. This is an independent clause. How do I know? It's a complete thought, has a subject, it has a verb. It doesn't start with a subordinating conjunction. Yes, it has prepositional phrases in it, but the whole thing is not a prepositional phrase. The whole bold-faced group of words is not a prepositional phrase. In the next one, we have a dependent clause. Why? Because it's an incomplete thought, but so is a phrase. So how do I know it's a dependent clause? It begins with a subordinating conjunction, subject it, verb were melted. Yes, it has a prepositional phrase in it, but the whole thing is not a prepositional phrase. It's a dependent clause. Sorry, and up here I should have put IC for independent clause. Okay, another independent clause here in number 24. U.S. Navy clearly displays superior military intelligence. That's a complete thought, subject, verb. Dependent clause. It's an incomplete thought, but it starts with a subordinating conjunction, and it has a subject and a verb. And the last one, prepositional phrases. During the attack and on Pearl Harbor, preposition, preposition, object to the preposition, object to the preposition. So please come see me if you have any questions. You will have a test on Monday. You're welcome to ask me any questions up until that point, but I would make sure that you do so, well before the beginning of class when we're passing your tests out to you guys. Good luck.